It's been extremely hot and we're still seeing temperatures rising through some areas. And to give you an example now, away from the capital cities, parts of Tasmania, South Australia and Victoria now look as though some towns are breaking January records, and some of these have been long-standing records. Some of them have been the 2009 records, so really very significant heat sitting across the border areas of southern New South Wales, northwest Victoria and also eastern parts of South Australia. So a couple of these regions, Murray Bridge 46.3 degrees. We've also had Keith, looks as though they've broken a long-standing record. They sat at 46 degrees through this afternoon. In Victoria, Charlton looks as though they've broken a long-standing January record. In Tasmania, two areas now, Strahan on the west coast and also Melton Mowbray, which is a relatively high area. They've also broken a January record. So very hot conditions, very widespread, and the worst of the heat is yet to push into New South Wales. We're going to see it start to creep through there during tomorrow. Deniliquin's pushed up into the mid-40s, but most other areas around there haven't been as extreme through the day. But I think tomorrow we're going to see that heat in the mid-40s across much of that southeastern inland.
So records tumbling anywhere. If we take a closer look at conditions in Melbourne and Adelaide, it's just been hot basically across those entire cities.
Yeah, look, it has. If we go to Adelaide first up, now their maximum temperatures today in the low to mid-40s. In Adelaide City itself, over 45 degrees. Today we've seen most suburbs sitting in those 44, 45 degree temperature mark. And also a severe thunderstorm warning out for parts of the state. Now, it doesn't cover Adelaide, but it does cover the lofty ranges. Now, the potential of these thunderstorms bringing damaging winds, and also the chance, because there's very little rainfall with them, that lightning strikes could start some fires across the area. So be vigilant with those storms about. And we've seen these fairly moderate northerly winds and very little in the way of relief across Adelaide or much of South Australia over the coming days. In Melbourne itself, similar story. The city, 41.9, the airport, 43.5 degrees, Geelong, 44.6, Avalon, 44.7, Moorabbin, 43.3. So, widespread areas of Melbourne have reached well into the 40s. I suppose Frankston, a bit of a relief, bit of a sea breeze kicking in there. It's kept it much milder. So if you can, head down to Frankston tonight, because it's one of the coolest spots across Melbourne at the moment.
Well, speaking of evenings, is there going to be much relief in the evening?
Look, Melbourne wasn't too bad this morning. Now, overnight minimums were in the high teens, or I should say mid to high teens to low 20s. But because we've seen such hot conditions today, you can expect to see those minimums a little bit warmer as we're heading tomorrow, and then the potential that they'll continue to rise. So mid to high 20s, possible around Thursday, Friday. And that's just going to make those maximum temperatures in the 40s reach or peak earlier in the day. So much longer period of time that we've got those extreme temperatures. Adelaide this morning, the city itself, 25.3 was their minimum. It will be warmer as well. Most suburbs in the low to mid 20s. We're expecting to see them in the mid to high 20s for much of the remainder of the week. So extremely uncomfortable and potentially dangerous conditions, particularly for the elderly and young.
So this is the second day in a row that we've been talking about heatwave conditions in southeastern Australia. Dare I ask how many more days to go?
Well, at least three. We've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There won't be a cooler change, begin to move into South Australia until Friday night at this stage. And then it'll move through Victoria, Tasmania as we move into Friday evening or Saturday morning. We won't see it into Canberra though until probably the cooling effects overnight Saturday or Sunday. But across much of the southeast, we're only going to see a slow filtering of the mild air move through. And at this stage, inland New South Wales looks as though the very hot conditions are going to persist well through the weekend and into the early part of next week as well.